A little bit heavier. Once again, so everybody saw this gray cloak, right?
Mm-hmm.
And seriously, how many minutes was that? 15 minutes to paint that cloak? So I'm gonna just glaze that real quick.
You even stopped a little bit.
I'm a talker.
Personally, I think it just means that you use less time painting.
Yeah. When you're home alone, there's nobody to talk to.
My present painting strategy is cue something up on the monitor, and I have something to do in between, or something to watch in between.
Jaws, Big Lebowski, Aliens,
Aliens, I'm with you on.
Texas Chainsaw. Those are painting movies.
Anything. Yeah, really. Or something that you've seen so many times, you practically have the dialogue memorized.
Serenity.
Caddyshack.
Star Wars, you'll like still like stop and watch the thing.
Which is perfect if you happen to be
Princess
in one of those
Bride.
places where you anyway.
Those are great movies. I love Jaws. Jaws is like my painting movie. I put in Jaws and I paint for, and I can watch Jaws like 2 or 3 times in a row.
Yeah, I can't even.
And the more layers you do with the glazing, and what the glazing does is creating this. You get this really intense color saturation. So and think of it like kind of like stained glass. Like whenever you look through stained glass or like sunglasses, you know, everything changes to that color of the sunglasses. The glazing is basically doing the same thing. You're putting such a finite or tiny amount of pigment over the top of what you've already done. And this is done like, so I painted the red and I put in shadows and I put in highlights. And the highlights were almost peach on that. Like it was peach and it looked ridiculous. But then you start glazing and then you start taking that peach and the blue and the red and it just starts filming it all together. And it just starts creating a better transition, and it just intensifies the red, and it puts that red, so it was all red glaze. So you have that the blue shadow and the peach highlight, but now you're putting red over the top of that, red over the top of this, and red over top of the red, and it all just comes out and just gets intense. So the more layers you do, the better intensity you get. This little guy's leg was about 8-10 layers, and it's starting to turn brown, right? And you can see the shadows and the highlights in it. Whereas that big robot was about 20 layers of glazing to get that really super rich saturated red.
So if you wanted to color between, say, that green and a blue, would you mix the ink beforehand, or do you do alternating coats, or how would you accomplish like a color that, say I want something that's between that green and say a dark blue, like a
Or
green
something
blue.
like this.
Would you like to do alternating coats of glaze, or would you mix the glaze to be the color you want to start with? Or
It depends on it's hard to answer those kind of questions because there is no wrong techniques really.
okay,
You know, if it depends on what you're comfortable with. I would probably mix the color I wanted.
okay.
You can do the glazing. You can 2-brush wet bin glazing, which is
wow.
really fun when you really start practicing with that.
Yeah.
Because you put the glazing like in your shadow and you just glaze it out. And then you can do like, so you do your green from there, and you do your blue from here, and you get that transition where it's glazed together, and once they come over the top of each other, and I'm using hands like,
Yeah.
it's like I'm a wizard.
Very
You get this nice transition, you get that blue there, the green there, but then you get this wonderful transition between.
Okay.
So it's all a matter of just developing the techniques that works the best for you. And let's do one more. And this is pretty heavy glaze. You can see how much heavier that is than the blue. So it's going to take less coats, but it's going to give me less transition as well. So there's pros and cons to being a little heavier and being a little lighter. The main thing is just no pulling on a glaze. When you pull a glaze, it's called a wash. People ask me that all the time. They're like, inks, what about washes? It's like, and that's kind of a misnomer. People assume a wash is a wash and an ink is an ink and a glaze is a glaze. Wrong. They're all exactly the same. It's just application. A glaze is a wash with no puddles. A wash is a glaze with puddles. An ink is actually just a wet paint. It's not any different. It's wet paint, you know, watery paint. Do what?
What?
Did anyone find an Altoid tin?
No.
It has my camera in it, and I
no.
misplaced it.
So 3 layers of green, and I turned my gray cloak into a nice elven green coat.
Maybe Erin took it, the instructor.
I already checked with her.
She doesn't have it.
No.
So it was like, I want some Altoids fixed up.
And it's easy. Like, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I've been painting miniatures since the 90s, and I'm totally self-taught. I've no education, I've never gone to college, I have no art degree, I have nothing. Totally self-taught, just read a lot, asked a lot of dumb questions.
You
And
need to agree when you've got style.
He's
not
asking.
getting a raise.
Yes, he's asking for a raise.
Thank you, everybody.
and
Thank you.
you just learn, once you like start asking questions and you start learning the techniques, everything comes much simpler. Because really, it's all about cheating. Everything is about cheating. It's finding the easiest way to do something. Like, that's all it is.
Little concerned.
I tell him all the time, be like lightning. Find the path of least resistance to your results. You know, that's why layering. I'm like, why would anybody layer? It takes forever. I can do the same thing in 20 minutes with a 2-brush wet. Whereas layering would take hours. I don't have hours. Jaws only last 2.
How many things per Jaws?
You'd say Jaws is it is seriously kind of like my timer. It's like, okay, I got this is tabletop dude. I got Jaws. Jaws has to finish this movie or finish this movie.
Do you mind if I pick up your other one?
Absolutely. Any of my stuff you can touch. Just be careful with the girl on the base. She won me a gold, so you know, be a little careful with her. So there's just 3 layers of glaze, and I turned that gray cloak into a green cloak. What do you want to know now? What's next?
Faces.
Faces. Let's paint a face. This is where I screw up.
I don't have a mini for
The
a
number of
face.
times I've screwed that up, I think I can forgive you some screw-ups.
So let's also
Did you pull that over?
whatever paint company you use. These little charts are. I mean, you can see this is my well-loved chart of what highlights and what shades each color. Carry this around with you. This thing is essential. So let's find which face do I want to use. I have a couple of face recipes. Use this one. So I'm going to use. There's a couple of secrets to painting female faces. One, the paranasal cleft. The paranasal cleft is this little doodad right here. Never shadow that on a female model, even if she has a nice, even if
I know where this is going.
even if she looks like a really nice deep cleft, don't shadow that thing because she will look like a man or Hitler.
Or like she has a really serious problem.
One of the two. She's gonna look a little strange. So I'm gonna use Midland and Rin, and this Midland is like seriously like a middle flesh color. Rin is a really soft, creamy white, creamy flesh color. You got a comparison. Find the company that makes something similar and use it. So I'm gonna use a 50-50 mix of this real quick. And base coating, y'all know about base coating, but I base coat the crap out of stuff. Nice thin, and I just get in there.
Do you do like the faces and the small detail first, as opposed to like the cloaks around it?
I most generally, and remember every rule, there's a caveat,
Sure.
except for when I don't. So if I say I do this, it's always followed up with the unspoken, except for when I don't.
Yeah.
And I usually try to base every model is its own different thing. Like, yeah, I'm a war gamer, but I also believe that miniature painting is kind of a unappreciated art at this point in time. I think it's gaining popularity, but I've seriously seen miniatures painted that could totally stand up in a museum, and we're not getting that kind of recognition yet. So I try to kind of keep that philosophy even when I'm painting just a dude from my army. And I just totally pulled it right off.
You're good. Here's your bag.
No, no, you're good.
If your base coat puddles up, eat it, as usual.
Eat it, alright.
Let's get in there and pull it right off with that brush and eat that.
Taste of it.
The snozberries taste like snozberries.
Skittles now makes
Really?
That's right, that's what we'll do. I'm betting that I get better paint, so it won't be so bad.
And brushes.
Yeah, and brushes, that's the big thing.
I'm still afraid to actually paint it.
That's what I never know,
He's
what's the right
easy to
tools?
paint though. I mean,
And do you use,
and he comes out when
You
I did him. I
sit
did his
the
wings,
paint.
the wings here in black,
Yeah, you spend
for the metal one, and then did everything else.
but it's not as thin as a wash, it's just a
And
little thin.
he really did. He came out beautiful. I need to put a little bit of red wash on the Paizocon because I did the wings in yellow instead. So I want to see what that would look like.
Also, I do paint the eyes, the base coat flesh color.
You do? Okay.
Yep, I go all, cause honestly, like when you look at the eye, if you think about, everything is so different at this scale. You really want that flesh color going all the way down, and you want to go ahead and cover that up because you're gonna black everything out. If you don't get that color down and you go to black it up, you'll get a funny line sometimes. So
Okay.
it's just easier to just go to the top. Also, when I go to shade and highlight her face, you're gonna see another why that happened.
Okay.
It's gone.
This is the best part of the show.
Except for the
I need some dancing hot dogs to go across the screen here.
We're searching for the Holy Grail.
I'm looking for battle dress. Green. It is a.
This?
Yep. So I'm gonna take some battle dress green. Like once again, we talked about skin tones. For Caucasian faces, you want green and red in your skin tones. It's like that. When somebody told me that, I was, holy cow, that makes so much sense. I had no idea.
You get these at the same art store?
Yeah, these actually you can get these.
I remember
at
using them in elementary
Hobby
school.
Lobby or anything. These are plastic ones.
I've seen them in Freddy's too.
Freddy's has them. Awesome. They make some really nice ceramic ones, and I don't have any, but I want some because apparently they stay at a cooler temperature than the room temperature, so it actually helps your paint. It keeps your paint a little wet.
Yep.
So I'm using a little mixed medium. Is anybody familiar with this kind of stuff? This is going to just break your paint down and make it a little thinner without being wet like water. And I'm going to use some Midland Flesh and some Battle Dress Green. I want to make this nice green color. And I still do want a little touch of water. Not too much. That mixed medium lets it be a little smoother. And what I'm going to do, this is going to be a shade. I'm going to shade her face with this. she's an outdoorsy girl. So she's gonna be a little bronze, a little rich in skin. She's a ranger. She's been out ranging. And I'm going to kind of two-brush blend this. This isn't necessarily a two-brush blend. Basically, I'm just going to try to keep it off the tops of the female face. And the most important parts of the female face, like we talked about the paranasal cleft, that's a super important part of painting a female face, especially on a miniature. The other important parts are the brow ridge, the nose, and the chin, and the cheekbones. Female faces, man, you want to accentuate that cheekbone. That is very, very key. So all I'm going to do is just put a little shade in the lowest parts of her face. Like down here in this neck area, that's all shade. And you, please, crowd around. You're not going to bother me.
Right.
And just the under part of her cheek, the inside of her ear. I'm going to do the inside of her mouth. Just a little bit.
Actually do with our mouth too?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, you want that same, like my mouth. I have a very dark line there, right? Naturally, but you don't really want that in your miniature because it'll look like
He's a clown.
it'll look almost
Why
like
so
they're grimacing.
serious?
Yeah, they'll look like they're grimacing.
Okay.
So you want that little bit, you want that little touch of shadow in there to give that the effect. Painting is telling people what they see.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm tricking you. I'm not painting a female face. I'm painting something that makes you think you're seeing a female face. So I'm going to do her eye cavities. So that's why that's important. And right along the bridge of her nose. And I'm not really two-brush blending. I'm more just getting rid of like there. You have this area. I just blurted in some paint there. And of course it was down here, and this is a very important part, like we said, the cheekbone. So I just pulled that away and got rid of that, and just kept the shadow in that deep recess. So both of those. Just make sure it's not on the cheekbone. The edge of that nose, very carefully. I want to do a little bit along her hairline. Just getting rid of, or just defining the hairline. You want a nice line along the edge of the hair where the hair meets the skin. You don't want it dark, but you want a line there. It needs to be defined.
Yes.
Honestly, when I paint female faces, weirdly enough, if you go to my browser history, there's a lot of female makeup application stuff that I look at because it's the same sort of philosophy. It really is. It's paint. I'm painting makeup on this face. Is basically what I'm doing. I want this side of her really nice and shadowed. And if it gets on the hair, I don't care. Like we said earlier, it's the fine art of correcting one's mistakes. Behind that really nice. And we'll do that flowers. You've got a little bit of a line there. Sometimes it's all about just looking at it too.